Welcome back to Music Sucks and I Want to Die. I am Matt.
I'm Jake.
And we have a very special guest today, all the way from Chicagoland, Mr. Greg Smith.
Hi.
Say hi, Greg.
Hello. I can't believe
Greg.
you actually knew that the metro area here is called Chicagoland and makes
Is
the
it
area
really?
it does, and it makes the area sound like a cheap amusement park.
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, the L is basically a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm not joking. It's terrifying.
So, slightly different guest than we usually have today. Greg is a musician, technically speaking. At one point, I also was Jake's common law husband.
Yeah, pretty much.
At one point,
Hey,
until
we were
he moved.
six months short.
6 months shy.
6 months more, and yes, we
Yeah.
would have been common law married. 6.5 years roommates.
But Greg is also a big quitter, and we are here to talk today about why we all want to quit music.
Yeah. Our
And
topic
why
today.
only one of us here has the bravery to actually go through with it.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Did Jake beat you? Is that what happened?
Did I beat you up? Is that what you said?
It's domestic abuse.
is
right?
domestic- Yeah, this
He
is some
wouldn't let
DV
me.
shit.
He wouldn't let me quit. He was going to kick me
Oh,
out if I
man.
quit music, so I couldn't quit until I moved.
Greg, you're bringing home the bacon. You got to keep playing.
For a while, I was.
That's true. He used to let me pay rent like a week late or some shit, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Good times.
Oh, boy.
So our topic today, more specifically, is burnout among musicians and why it happens and what people do to either prevent it or quit.
Yeah. So, Greg, why don't you give us a little brief history about your professional life?
All right. Well, I started playing music as a young, naive child, believing it was fun, happy-go-lucky, and sunshine sparkles, and look, a way for me to, as a man, express my emotions in a safe space.
Wow, that's the worst reason I ever heard to start playing music. It's for chicks, bro. Come on.
That's why you play guitar.
That
No,
is
piano
not
breaks.
why I played
cocks. Let's
piano.
go.
Actually, I played
Okay,
piano
okay.
because my parents required that we all learn an instrument. We had a piano, so I learned that because I hated violin. But I ended up doing it a lot in high school, and because I was attending community college in high school, I then was doing it at the community college, so I was playing for all of the choirs and vocal groups and such at the community college, as well as I had a regular church gig as a pianist and organist for a church near where I lived. And then, because that seemed to be working well, I then decided to actually do it for my bachelor's degree. Went to Cornish, which is where I met you losers.
Nice.
And now it's going out of business.
Yeah, Cornish is like going on a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that article. It was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, not like it's terribly surprising to me, but
I'm not. I'm honestly. I'm not
I know.
surprised.
That
I worked
place was
there
ran like a
because, well, yeah, but like, which I'm intimately familiar with because I worked there. Because so after I graduated, they hired me as an accompanist there. So I ended up playing for the classical voice department, which I did for all the way till I moved to Chicago. So for about eight and a
you
half
did it a
years
while.
ish.
Jeez. And you're doing a lot of other stuff too. You're working a lot. And
Yeah,
you're working
so
a
I
lot,
was
man.
I was doing that, which was a pretty regular, consistent gig. And then at some point, I started playing at Seattle Opera for their touring stuff. They had an opera every year that they would tour around to schools and to community performances and stuff like that. Just like small one act kind of thing. And it was usually different every year. So I played for that, which was all over the place and generally actually a lot of fun. I think a lot of people had complaints about it, but I enjoyed it a lot. And then I played for a good number of musicals. In a given year, I'd usually play for, I think, 6 or so, either playing or
Yeah.
music directing them. And then, those would be at like different colleges or different random theaters in the area. Then I also did some accompanying at South Seattle Community College. I played for a couple different choirs around the Seattle area on consistent or substitute basis. And then I started playing for ballet in about the last year and a half of my being in Seattle.
That's what did it, huh?
That's what did it, man. No.
Well, and I did that, and that was ballet was interesting because that just accelerated so fast because it was just like I subbed one place
Dude.
once, and then suddenly I like had like 4 regular gigs at different
Dude,
studios.
it's the same thing happened to me.
Like,
You gave me like 3 to 4.5 hours after you left or whatever,
And it just-
and then I had 20 in
yeah,
3 months.
and it just exploded.
I just can't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I hated that many hours. I still hate as many hours as I have now, and it's like 9.
yeah. Try 30.
No, I'm good, dude. So anyway, you were ballet accompanying towards the end of your Seattle life.
Yeah, and I also like played in random like ensembles here and there throughout, or like different random things, the normal
Just
like
freelance
gig stuff,
one-offers.
but very much like focused in like musical theater and classical stuff, primarily vocal accompanying. So in all the different facets of that, which in certain aspects was always really, really fun. It's a lot of sight reading, which I really, really love. That's one of my favorite things is sight reading, especially when it was like, here's like a score with like, 8 staves. Please reduce it all. And then also, can you cram in the vocal parts when we're struggling to sing, but then stop playing when we're not struggling anymore? So it's like, that's fun because it's like having to keep track of all the voice parts, having to actually play all the instrumental parts, and then still be able to give notes and critiques to all the singers afterwards, which, that kind of thing is fun.
All in all, like your post-college career here sounds pretty good. Like, obviously I know you and I know the real story here, but like from like an outsider's perspective, it sounds...
This sounds like a musical life career.
Yeah, there was some really, really good things about it, and I really enjoyed it for a while. I think one of the major issues with it is it was a lot. There would be periods of time where I worked as much as 19 hours a day for a full month. It was not irregular for me to go a full...
Was that in April of 2016 by any chance? Hey!
It was not unusual for me to go 5 or more months without a single day off. And oftentimes in that time be working no less than 12 hours in each of those days.
This is verifiable, by the way. I was there.
I believe it.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for Jake and I to go through several weeks never seeing each other once, despite living in the same place.
Yeah, because we often had like opposite schedules too. Like I'd be gone from like 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. and you'd be gone from like, noon to 8 or whatever, maybe like 8 to 8 or something.
Yeah. And it was all, I think a lot of it is like if you want to get somewhere, you really have to just be working a lot, like especially when you start out. But I never got out of that mentality. It was also just kind of the panic thing of like, if I don't do all this work now, what if it all evaporates and I have no money? So it's like, do all the work all the time. The problem is it was never drying up. It was just getting to be more and more.
Yeah, it just kept escalating.
Yeah, it's like, and I am bad at saying no. And it was just like, I could handle this workload because I could sight read all of it. So it wasn't like I was losing time I was running out of time for practicing. Yeah. It was because I could sight read basically everything that was set in front of me.
Okay. Well, one thing I noticed too, I mean, not that this has to be a thing, and I know you enjoyed a lot of what you did, but was any of the stuff you mentioned, was that something like for yourself, like during this time?
That's one of the issues that I started to run into and have run into is very little of it was for myself, and a lot of things that would be for myself started to turn into other things. Like I did harpsichord. I really, really enjoy playing harpsichord. There's a lot of really, really fun music from the 17th and 18th centuries, and there were some people that I really enjoyed playing with, but I didn't like it as like a career thing. I didn't want to be like thinking about I need to get good at this and I need to get gigs and stuff. But at some point it started feeling like you just start to feel pressure to turn it into that, and then that started to kind of just demolish that little enclave of like musical, like personal little treasure kind of thing.
That happens. Sucks, man. I hate that shit. Yeah.
And the thing is, all the other stuff I want to do, it's like you can't do it really fully for yourself. So like, I really enjoy music directing musicals. That's a whole production. That's a whole mess of things.
You have to attain financial security, and with that, when that happens, it's all like out the window.
Yeah. So that's
sure.
That's something that couldn't. There was inconsistency with how enjoyable that was, because that becomes so dependent on other people. There was so there was some musicals where it really felt like, this is something I absolutely love, and some musicals where it's just like, I fucking hate this.
Well, I get what you're saying too, the whole like fear of running out of money, especially in Seattle in the last.
Well, and because
years.
everything was also always getting more and more expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
dude.
it's
Like there was one point
you
where Jake's and mine rent went up 35% in 1 year.
Yep.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
And it wasn't like we moved. It was just like
we kept it,
the apartment just
When
decided,
it went up an
hey,
additional 20% afterwards,
then we
moved.
moved. But it was like, it's like,
Right.
how much
So
are you
even though you're
expecting
getting more
everyone's
work-
income to increase in that time?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It was
You know,
ridiculous.
Yeah, you're not making enough to be comfortable at any point, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Even if you are working these, 10, 15-hour days.
Well,
or
and the
whatnot.
thing is, though, like at a certain point, I was actually getting to that. I mean, that was one thing that the ballet really, really helped with. Was it was really, really consistent, money.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my last year, I was basically able to practically take the summer off because I had worked
pretty cool.
so fucking much during the spring and winter, fall and winter.
But then, yes, that's
those
like,
other seasons. But
yeah, but then that's not fun, right?
no, then that it's not fun because then it's hell for most of the year.
Actually miserable.
It's
yeah.
but
It's miserable.
Oh man. So before we get back to bitching, then, Greg, so you finally said you had enough and you left Seattle. So
Yeah, and it
what are you doing
that
now?
wasn't so much necessarily had enough kind of thing. That was I had grown up in the Pacific Northwest. I had grown up down in the Portland area and then moved to Seattle, and it was like that had been a long-term goal of mine anyway, is to try living somewhere else.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I chose Chicago based on how I make most of my decisions, which is via a spreadsheet, listing all the different things that don't mock
Got
me.
the pizza. You got
Well, like different
Bears.
things where it's like, decent transit, like decently well-sized city, any semblance of a music scene because I wasn't, I was going to need to get work the moment I moved.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't totally set on, I need to leave this career kind of thing.
Sure. Okay.
It was
So you
also
just wanted
helpful
to change the
because I
scenery.
knew actually a good number of people from this area. So that helped give me connections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, so then I moved here, and then ended up playing for basically nothing but ballet and church gigs. Because ballet work was really, really easy to get and get a lot of it.
Yep. Seems
That
that way.
literally sounds like my COVID life right now is church and ballet.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
very occasional live stream gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've done a couple other random gigs here and there in Chicago. Like I did a musical theater summer camp kind of thing last summer. Obviously, it did not happen
with
this
kids.
summer.
Not with kids, right?
It was with kids, but
Oh, dude, I did one. I hated my life more than anything for that month and a half.
I was okay with it.
You did okay?
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay. Oh, wait, were you just the accompanist or the music director?
I was just the accompanist.
Oh, okay.
There was a little bit of tiny bit of mild amounts of coaching, but
Sure.
mostly just accompanying. So
Okay. But anyway, yeah.
I didn't have to herd children. So
Fucking
That's-
nightmare.
and then yeah, let's see.
Well, then you also
Some
are
random
somewhat-
vocal gigs and opera and stuff like that here and there, but
But you're also looking at a career change too, right?
yeah. So then what I started doing when I had been here for I think 6 months, 8 months, something like that, some kind of number.
It's not on your spreadsheet.
No, that's not on my spreadsheet. But I have multiple spreadsheets, and that one's not open right now.
No one hack into this dude's Google Drive, man. It's over.
It's a lot of spreadsheets. A lot of them are for D&D. They're so useful.
Oh my god.
But
Got a porn
and
spreadsheet.
hear your understanding though why I think a career change might be good. I actually enjoy spreadsheets, and
There you go. You don't get to use that in music very much.
I tried to though. It was just useful for music.
surprised.
It was just useful for music
surprised.
directing stuff sometimes, for keeping things organized, and for making sure people did not have an excuse to not know when and where they needed to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I set up a spreadsheet for a couple of things I do now. It's pretty useful. I felt the Greg influence of spreadsheets.
Oh Jesus. Anyway, let's get off of spreadsheets for a second here.
This is the single most interesting topic our podcast has yet produced.
I agree.
Google
Having
Sheets.
listened to your podcast, I completely agree.
Oh, fuck off! Get out of here.
All right. So Greg, looking at now?
So at this point, what I'm looking at is, and I'm actually applying to grad schools for this. I had applied to grad schools last year, got in, but then had no money. But I'm applying to grad schools in urban planning. I'm hoping to focus in community development and urban design. So I'm applying to a couple schools on the West Coast, actually, as well as one school here. And then
Any in
there's
Seattle?
a couple. No, actually not in Seattle. I was not super excited by UW's program. I made sure to get big cities surrounding Seattle, but keeping a good distance. So Vancouver, BC, and Portland.
Vancouver's tight, dude.
Yeah. Vancouver would be great. If nothing else, just getting myself inserted into Canada and hopefully get to stay there.
Dude, that's
and
the
get
dream,
healthcare.
dude. I know.
Who needs that?
My dad's getting a citizenship through my grandma, so I'm curious if I can get citizenship through my dad after he gets citizenship. I don't think that's how that works, but I'm dreaming in my heart that someday I can have healthcare.
Well,
Yeah.
Greg, you're going to get a real job now anyway, so you don't even need Canadian healthcare.
That's right, because
Because
get
I mean,
hired as
it's still like you're if you get fired, then suddenly you have no healthcare, and oftentimes healthcare insurance still really fucking sucks.
Yeah, it was a joke. I wasn't really trying
it was
to talk
a
about
joke. Yeah.
the healthcare system of America.
Well,
but yeah, okay.
I don't know
you're
how
right. Good
serious
point.
you are or not. But yeah, so I'm
Okay.
looking at doing that, and I had started doing classes in different architecture and design and architectural history and stuff like that. This last year, started that in 2019 just at the community college here, just to get start doing classes. And making it look like I'm trying to do things. But yeah.
That's cool. No, I mean, it's funny because I remember in Cornish, they're like, it's totally fine to have a day job while you have your music career. And it's like, you're kind of doing the opposite because you're doing music to support your real career now.
It's also just I never needed to have a day job. I just went straight into music career. So it was God, now my thinking is, God, a day job sounds nice.
You see, I'm not quite there yet. I haven't reached the point where I want a 9-to-5 ever in my entire life.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of day jobs that aren't 9 to 5.
That's true. But when you say day job, you generally mean corporate office or even a mod pizza job. Or something.
But I mean, for me,
Whatever.
it's even just it's something that isn't music, so I don't have to be so dependent on music, and so that realistically I can take a break from music. I don't think I'm at a point where I'm going to hate it for always and forever, but I really do not enjoy it right now, and I really hate it right now. And
music can be a living fucking hell
so
on
depressed about it right now, and I just I need a break. I don't enjoy it at all right now. Any moment of my playing, I just don't enjoy.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's funny because we've all had this experience where you're talking where you're just doing it all the time and you don't have any time to do your own shit. And then you're just oh my God, I hate music so much. And now we've been in quarantine for almost a year. And it's I have all the time to do music I want, but it's well, there's nothing to do with it. And it's not really making me any money. And
I can't do
so
it with
I still
anyone,
hate it.
and I have no motivation to do it.
Exactly.
It's I can't share this anywhere really very well.
It's stupid. Yeah.
And I would say though, I was already at a point that pre-quarantine, it was just a given that with time I wasn't going to do more music.
I would have said that a year or two, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah.
I would have said that even before I moved to Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Towards the end of your Seattle career, it was he could use a break. The man could use a break. You worked a lot, man.
Yeah. Well, and I just
could all use breaks.
Yeah. But
well, let's kind of talk about what are some reasons that we all have experienced burnout?
Vocalist, no.
Well, yes, dealing with other people is a big one, actually.
Having worked
what's your opinion on the intelligence of other musicians?
but
widely varied. Some real fucking idiots out there, and some real smart people out there.
That's right.
Well,
obviously, I'm the epitome of a judge for that.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But a lot of our income, and most musicians I know, is based off of working with other people.
Yeah.
And them getting us jobs. It's very rare that we run bands that actually pay money.
That's honestly that is a whole different thing.
That's a whole different planet.
That is being good at business more than it is being good at music.
That is
yeah.
indeed.
We're all sidemen in this call.
Yes, pretty much.
As far as financial,
Well, I mean,
aspects,
the other thing about like doing your own stuff and trying to make that work and make money is that's a lot of work. And if you're if you're doing all this other stuff to make money and to try and just make progress in the scene, like in terms of connections and networking and like all that kind of stuff, it's like you're not going to have time to do your own stuff.
It's like even people who I know who are like, you know, not necessarily like Lady Gaga level, but like professional musicians that I follow, who do basically just release their own albums. They still do have to do all the other sideman shit and studio work and gear endorsement kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that's if you
probably
want,
better than what we'll get, but you know, it's still work.
It's
a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily always going to be work you want to do. It's work where it's like, I have bills to pay, you know?
Yes. And it's that whole, I mean, this is obviously a topic that's been going around forever, but it's like, you know, if you do what you love for work, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's like, that's obviously false.
That's
because you
true.
will be working at it constantly and you will grow to hate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, like we're saying, I would much rather do what I do than a 9-to-5, you know, cubicle job.
Yeah.
Because I think that would make me totally miserable, especially if it's something I had no interest in whatsoever.
Yeah. Imagine being like a freaking middle management guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not that much better having to like be poor and scrape by and play some other singer's music just to live in a little basement by yourself, you know?
Hey, I have a 1-bedroom, man, that I'm going to get kicked out of soon.
Yay!
Yay. I don't actually know that yet, but I'm assuming. Once COVID, we won't raise your rent till COVID's over, we promise.
So you're just banking on this virus to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. The longer COVID goes, the longer I can stay in this apartment. Anyway, I kind of wanted to go back to, because what was important for me developmentally in like, I guess, a mindset kind of way. Because I was a very stupid person for a long time. I still am in a lot of ways, but I didn't really understand the feelings I was having toward music for a while until it was us three, actually. We went to a local Mexican restaurant, the Matador, and then I finally just asked the question, is like, guys, do you like the way your music career is going? Yeah, I was like really nervous to ask that question because I thought you guys would all think like, oh, Jake Seeley's fucking stupid. Of course I love it, dude. I get to play music for a living. I'm so privileged. All this shit. It was like, and then you guys like, no, it fucking sucks. You know what I mean? I was so happy to hear those words from other people.
Dude, and that's true.
Well,
How many times you had that conversation with someone that doesn't play music and you're like, oh, I do music. They're like, that's so fucking cool.
I know, man.
You got to be like, it is. I'm so lucky.
It is.
It's really great.
Yeah, and then I was just so happy to hear those words. You know, it was like, it's not just you thinking this about your overly privileged lifestyle. No, which is a thing.
In a sense, though, it is. I mean, yes, we are lucky to be able to do that if we choose to do it, and doesn't make it good. It's good though.
I mean, I don't know. It's always something that's perplexed me a little bit because it's like, because again, I never found it that hard to make a living as a musician. I mean, not much of a living, but like
part of that is from our also piano privilege a little bit, just
right? But it's like I think it's when you're willing to take any and all gigs, like take any work, regardless of how little you want to do it, it becomes significantly easier to make a living as a musician. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, whereas if it's like I want to make a living, but what you mean is you want your band to take off and you want to make money, make a living off just that, like. Yeah, that's going to take forever and be real hard. And then you'll be living to the dream because you'll just be doing that one thing. But
and you'll probably blow through all your money immediately
really
and be poor.
Yeah, it really, though, ends up just being like any kind of other job. It's like, okay, this is a skill set I have. This is a knowledge base that I have. I am putting this knowledge base to use. I am working at a myriad of different organizations that make use of my knowledge and skill base.
And that's where it's different from like a normal job.
Well, except those are still making use of your knowledge and skill base. I think one of the differences is you're working at a ton of different places.
And that's where it's slightly harder as a musician too, is because, when you work for a corporation, let's say you're an electrical engineer, you get hired generally out of college, to be an electrical engineer for one company for 30 years or whatever, right? In music, you do have to constantly kind of diversify and make sure, and that's where the mindset's so easy to creep in, is like, I constantly need to be accepting work from everyone, because who knows when this opportunity is going to close down, and who knows what awesome opportunity can come from this stupid fucking gig I'm taking for $25 on a Wednesday night or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, and that was actually one of the things I was experiencing at Cornish, is the accompanists, they were just slowly, like, at least in the music department, reducing our hours and reducing our hours and reducing our hours because of budgetary reasons. Like, it was the kind of thing where, like, you know, when I started there were like 3 or 4 accompanists. By the time I, you know, left, I was the only accompanist left, because the other ones were like, I'm taken out of here, I'm not getting enough hours, I can do this other thing, you take my hours. You know, so it's just like, you know, for a little bit it was like around the same, but it was just getting less and less and less. So I was like prioritizing that as a job less and less and less, because it was just that work was disappearing. So I had to be taking other work. That,
we're part of the gig economy. We're never like an employee anywhere, really.
Well,
you know, we're always,
you know, to a degree that actually gives you more security, because like at no point is anything probably more than like 15-20% of your income.
Right.
So if somewhere fires you, you haven't lost all your income. You've only lost at most like a fifth of it. You know,
very true. Very true.
So that's true.
In a way, offers you more security and flexibility. But at the same time, it's scary and gives you like constant panic
constant
attacks.
Anxiety and night terrors. Yeah, totally.
I mean, and that's another thing I want to talk about, just the mental health effects on doing art for a living.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we're not going to get all psycho in here right now, but
speak for your fucking self, dude.
But like, I know we've all experienced various mental health problems in our careers as musicians. Well,
and actually,
mostly from the anxiety, just, you know, depression angles. And
well, and I was actually reading or going through a study just today, actually, in preparation.
See, it's like Greg comes on and does more work for our podcast than we like ever do, so you know, whatever.
Yeah, losers. But it was. I think it was 38% higher likelihood of developing anxiety as a musician versus not, which is pretty significant.
I would say so.
That's a big number.
Yeah. So, you know, there's that. You know, other mental health things are less conclusive with it, especially since there's a lot of like, well, music is mentally, you know, beneficial for you in a a lot of ways, but then it's like a music career is not like, so then those two things are at war with each other.
God. I mean, I get, like we're saying before, it's like the freedom is nice to do this sort of, you know, gig economy thing, but we never have a solid footing. At any point, unless you really commit to like,
unless
I'm only
you get
doing
one
ballet,
of those really,
like,
really rare positions where it's like your salary, like you know,
exactly, which is so like getting less and less.
Yeah, and it's basically going to be a few college gigs here and there, you know, if you're not teaching. You know, so it's going to be maybe 1 or 2 college gigs per city. All the rest of them are going to do contracting.
Oh, for sure. It's like,
and then it's
like
maybe like major
or,
opera or ballet companies or symphonies are going to do that.
But
they
those
are really hard to get into because you got to wait for someone to die to get that gig.
And even like local musical theater type companies are
it's
more
all
and more so. It's all contracting now. And even then, you can't even get the gigs in your own city because they oftentimes tour with the entire ensemble now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even like local large productions, they very much have a list of like, we use these people, and getting on the list is hard.
And they're all 70-year-old. Yeah.
Right. And it's the same kind of thing where you are waiting for that person to retire.
Yeah.
And then you are vying
like Supreme
for that
Court,
spot.
Dude.
Like,
you're trying to get in the Fifth Ave. You're trying to like get a Supreme Court nomination. Dude. You're just waiting for someone else to die.
I think, you know, honestly, getting one of those gigs might be harder at this point. Considering the credentials that you apparently don't need to have for the Supreme Court.
I mean, we don't even have like recording anymore. Like, no one's getting signed or making any money. But like, even if
you have to finance your own recording stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're like a sideman on someone, it's not like you're getting royalties, non-existent royalties
not at this
anyway.
point
But it's
anymore.
like, like here's $50. Thanks for doing the session. Like,
so least, you know, unless you're in very specific cities, that kind of thing doesn't happen. And even those places.
And by specific cities, you mean specific city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally like Los Angeles.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, Omaha, fucking Nebraska. No, so I've been on like a lot of albums, way more than I ever want to admit to anyone in my life, because most of them are really, really, really bad.
I'm aware of many of these
You're familiar
albums.
with my work.
You should come out with the best of Jake Seeley.
I should take one track from each of these albums and just like shove it out on the internet somewhere. That would be so funny.
Molding the best of Jake Seeley.
Oh man. So like, but the point I'm trying to get to is that like studio work, at least in Seattle, is not very much different than gigging. Yeah, it's not different than gigging. A vocalist hires you to do the same thing you're going to go do at the fucking club, right?
Right.
There's nothing special about it. Studio work is the exact same. If anything, it's more annoying because the pay scale's not.
Infuriating.
Yeah. Oh my god, I have so many stories that I cannot tell. I'm having like PTSD right now. Anyway, so, but like if you know, even if you go to LA now, like, you know, back in the days when studios, like recording studios used to hire musicians, you know, that they had off a list, that doesn't happen anymore either. Because the ubiquitousness of a keyboard producer and the, you know, the increase of sampling and all that. But it's also like most producers these days actually play a good deal of piano and keyboard instruments as well.
They do. I mean, I think there's still a pretty decent sized community of studio musicians in LA.
Yeah,
they're
there
not
is. Yeah,
working on major label releases necessarily, but they're still making
Right.
pretty
Well,
good
and
money.
it helps that like
You know.
you know, there's the whole movie and TV stuff there, and so
Exactly.
that's going to
Yeah.
be using that
Yeah.
that.
I think
resource
that's a way
constantly.
bigger percentage of the industry than people think it is right now.
I
in terms of
think it's a
studio
huge
musicians.
percentage, but I haven't looked up any
mean,
stats regarding that, so I couldn't
You'd be
say.
surprised about all the like indie level records that get made in LA that they hire like the whole band for.
There
I
are
mean,
a lot of mid-level talent in LA
Yes,
for sure.
yes.
There's a lot of, you know, you fill up a 900 seater or a 1400 seater. Yeah.
So you're not going to be on all the like major label hits or anything anymore because
No,
that's
but
all
you're-
computers or the producer doing it.
But even those gigs more now are being fueled more by things like merchandise sales and ticket sales.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's still like, that's like the best you can hope for at this point and during that. But but what you're saying about getting that studio work and like what Greg's saying, it's like getting the work, like you're saying, is not the problem. I don't know any burnt out musicians who are just like, I can't get any work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm burnt out.
It's always they work
like,
too much or like work for the wrong people.
Or just do their own shit, which is fine too, and they don't make any money from it, which maybe is the better way to do it.
I don't know. I don't know if it makes much difference at the end.
Might not.
How you burn out. It's all the same. It's all freaking burnt rubber, you know?
Burnt rubber. Well, okay, so yes, there's the whole monetary thing. There's also just the freedom thing. Yes, you can like quit a job and be okay, but if your entire day is spent filling these really weird hours,
Right.
when are you going to have a social life? When are you going to like
and that's,
eat? When are you going to like no wonder it's terrible on your mental health.
Yeah, well, and
You
that
can't
was
live
that
a
was
normal
that was one of the
life.
things is I would be working all day every day.
Yeah, I never
know.
saw you really. Like,
Yeah,
very
like the only
briefly,
time, the only free time I would have would be after 11 p.m. on any given day,
And you were already dead.
and I was dead by that point.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah,
you
I mean, think about it. You play a gig or something. It's like, well, they don't have food there, or they have like bar nachos.
Yeah.
You drink a lot. You're off at 2. You're like, what can I eat? McDonald's is open. Sweet, let's go. It's like, this is not a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
can't, like-
I mean, I didn't.
I do think that was a big part of my weight problem for a while was that.
I mean, what else are you supposed to do unless you actually like get home and cook a meal at 2:30 in the morning?
And when I
And,
started
like,
dieting,
that's-
I had to do that, and it was the worst.
Yeah.
I hate playing a gig till what, like 2:30 in the morning, right? Is when you finally get in your car and leave. You get home at 3. It's like I've had 800 calories. Time to cook up 600 calories of some shit. Oh, I guess I have to turn on the stove, wait for it to heat up. It's 3:30 by the time I get the food, and then I have heartburn because I ate it too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Dude, yeah.
My solution was just to not eat a lot of the time. There was
Yeah, I know.
definitely
Sure.
periods of time where I was subsisting on like 3 Cliff Bars a day.
No. 3 is way too low, dude. I used to
no,
see
no.
you have 4 in your backpack, let alone when you fucking
Doesn't mean I ate all of them.
he was
There
feeding
was
the other,
definitely
like,
a point in time
stressed out
where I was
musicians.
eating only like 700
No, I
calories
meant
a
sometimes
day.
you ate more than that too.
Oh yeah, I mean
was like-
sometimes I was generous with myself, but
No, but
Oh, yeah.
I had 5 Cliff Bars.
Ooh, what is that, like 1,100 calories? Ooh.
Well, it's funny. I can really notice this stuff now, being in quarantine and having basically the same thing happen every day of my life now. I'd say my like mental health is, if I am like going to bed early, eating right, my mental health is pretty good. But like the couple nights in a row where I stay up really late, eat pizza, drink too much. It's like immediately the next day, it's all just like, oh, I'm super anxious and depressed and like having existential dread. And it's like, this would happen on like 2 or 3 times a week back before quarantine. Just
dude.
because of like, rehearsal or a show or whatever.
For real.
And it's like, no fucking wonder people are so depressed and burnt out and anxious all the time. Like, these aren't real life hours.
No.
At least not in relation to the rest of society that we have to sort of conform around,
Well, and it's also just it's just not functional for your body at a certain point.
No, dude. Circadian rhythms, what, dude?
Well, especially once it starts to become inconsistent, where it's just like, okay, I can either get up at 6 a.m. every day and go to, bed at 3 a.m. every day in order just to have consistency, or I can go to bed and wake up at wildly different times just to try and get a solid block of sleep,
It's like,
because
there's
it's gonna,
no winning,
every
really.
single day is going to be different,
And that's what happened. If you recall, this is like 2013, after I just graduated college. I was working insane hours, like very strange. Like,
do you mean when you were going to bed when I would be getting, or you were waking up when I got home at like 4 p.m.?
Yep. And then I went to bed when you woke up.
Yeah.
So this was twofold, I think. The smaller reason is that we shared a 1-bedroom, and our beds were literally like 9 inches apart.
I'm going to give it a foot. I'm going to be generous.
Okay, a solid foot. And also there was a height difference because I didn't sleep on the floor like a weirdo. But
you're really just going to put this out for the world to know about.
Whatever,
what's happening right now?
Yeah, can we edit this out, maybe?
Yeah. No, the bigger
part. What about when Greg had his girlfriend over at the time?
Oh,
let's talk
dude,
about
that was fucking great, dude. Oh, man. Used to talk in her sleep, fucking 1 foot from me. That was awesome.
Well, maybe you guys should have separate bedrooms. Just putting that out.
And then we did, and it was awesome. And it was great. But the bigger part of that time, when I was going to bed at like 8 or 9 a.m., waking up at 4 or 5 p.m., is that I was working, or I was playing shows, till 3 and 4 a.m. at the time. I was playing a lot of salsa shows, and those always started super late. And then also just random shows that were out of town, and I had to drive back 3 hours. And that was like some of the harder times for me, and mentally speaking.
Well, especially back then, how much were you making a gig? Like $40?
Dog. I don't want to talk about how much I was making.
I say making
I was happy about 150, man.
Is a bit generous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was surviving.
Yeah.
And our rent was dirt cheap, and I was still barely.
Well, it's funny too, like you're saying, working like no days off, all this stuff. It's like, that adds up after a while, but if you look at it like hourly rate, a lot of times you're not doing that well.
No.
Yeah.
Unless you really start getting into it and start like getting a name, but obviously that takes a really long time, and it's not really.
Well, and even
guaranteed.
then, you're probably still going to need to take some really, really shitty, low-paying gigs now and then.
I am the poster child for what we're talking about right now. Last year, I actually made like a lot of money, and my hourly rate was really increasing, like a lot. I was making like pretty damn good money. I was like not in poverty. It was tight. But no, I made like really good money, and I had to take the most stupid bullshit gigs in order to do it sometimes. Yeah. Because some of the gigs you get with certain groups, pay like, let's say 400 to 500 a lot of the time. But there's going to be that 1 or 2 gigs a month, or, or maybe every couple months, that pay $50 or $25. And you still have to take those, because if you don't, you're disloyal. And then,
And then you're not in that band that normally makes a ton of money.
Yeah. Would you drive to like Spokane and play a wedding expo for free and then drive home?
Yes, I would. I would drive to Montana and then play a show ending at midnight. And then I would drive straight back to play a church service in the morning.
And we're burnt out because what?
Yeah, no particular reason.
I don't get it.
Because we're entitled snowflakes.
Well,
exactly. That's why we
you should be grateful you play music for a career. Yeah.
Right.
God, that conversation was so helpful. I can't
ungrateful.
overstate that. Yeah, I can't overstate how helpful that conversation was at Matador, though. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Ugh.
It was tight.
Well, then it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, what?
Greg got out.
I'm trying to.
You're trying to get out.
In the process.
Again,
you
still
might get
playing,
stuck back in.
Even during COVID, I'm playing like 30 hours of ballet a week.
That's so crazy, man.
Right now is great because it's like job market's not good, but like again, that means I'm not going to quit right now and try and find a different job, because it's just like it's not going to happen.
Right, you might as well do that as opposed to working at Panera.
Right,
I
hate it. I don't look forward to playing piano at all, and then once I'm playing, I'm counting the minutes until I get to stop.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh, I know, dude.
Ugh.
Actually, I'm friends with another ballet accompanist, Ben. And so we have the same shift on Saturdays. So we just like type the minutes into Facebook chat every once in a while. It's insane. But
isn't that a messed up thing that this is our lives? We're just constantly looking at the clock and it's like, I have my instrument in my hand. This should be fine.
I'm not going to lie to you.
10 more minutes. It's going so slow.
But because of that, I can almost always tell exactly like what time it is. It's really weird. Like I have a very
based on how miserable you are.
It's all worth it then. Jake has a good sense of time now.
Not while playing though. No. No, what I wanted to say though is like I want to say I'm like still somehow like a little more optimistic in general. I don't know how, but like I'm not burnt out yet, even though I had like the stupidest fucking life for a long time.
Well, I mean, you were optimistic about the Star Wars movies, so
that's also true.
Yeah. You're also just generally, I think, a generally optimistic person. One of the things with Burnout is it's actually symptomatically like it's confusing trying to actually psychologically define what it actually is, because symptomatically it very, very closely resembles clinical depression, which I have in spades, so it's no wonder that it's no wonder that like I am very susceptible to burnout, because I just all of the pieces are there to give up, like
Sure.
So Greg, you're just more self-aware than Jake.
That's definitely true.
Well, I think also Jake's just generally a more optimistic person. So.
Yeah, I'm very upbeat, energetic, competitive.
And I think it's I used to have more of that, where it's like, this music career is going somewhere, but after years of it not going anywhere, it's
man, that's always it, right? You look back, you're like, I've been doing this how long now?
I know, dude.
And like I was talking to another musician that I know, and she was saying like, it seems like if I can just get through this next couple of years, work's going to be way better for me, because this is around the age everyone's quitting because they're fed up. It's like, I don't actually have to be good. I just have to be tenacious.
Yeah, because that's like that old adage. It's like, where two dudes are in the woods and they see a bear. And the guy's like, run, it's a bear. And he's like, what? How the fuck are we going to outrun a bear? He's like, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. It's kind of that kind of thing.
It's the person that's going to have a long career. It's just the person that's going to be more tenacious until
those young hotshots come out, man. Knock them out.
knock them out the box.
Yeah, but I mean, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to feel like this job is going nowhere. This, both like financially, both like in the quality of these gigs, in terms of like all of the like your own artistic ability, because none of the gigs you're getting are challenging, so then you're not growing as a musician anymore.
Yeah.
That was actually a lot of the reason I started playing ballet, was just like, oh my God, just something different so I can grow a little bit.
Seriously.
I remember that too, Greg. I mean, not saying this is necessarily something you wanted to go down, but I remember like when I saw you playing Cornish, like you were a pretty killer jazz pianist. And like, I never really saw you play jazz after you graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hated the gigs.
That's fine. It's just funny to think it's just like you probably like lost a lot of those chops just because it's like
I can't play jazz with shit anymore. But the improvisation has been super, super useful.
For
sure.
The ballet.
I
was just saying as an example, it's just kind of funny that you're right. We don't really get none of the gigs I get are the things that allow me to work on the things I want to work on. Mm-hmm. So it's like, cool. I have to just do that at home for no reason.
That's one,
right, and that's where it gets to be like, can I just? At some point, can I just do this for me?
Yeah.
But it's like,
no, you can't. You have to go make money. Sorry.
That's been one of the hardest parts for me. Is like, I've, not to sound like a huge douche hole, but like the quality of music that happens at a lot of these gigs is very low, like way lower than it has any right to be with people who call themselves professionals. Recently, Matt and I did a wedding that is literally the worst I've ever sounded in a group environment in my life, and it's just things like that. That's the worst thing to me, is when I get on stage and I play with a group of 5 dudes and it sounds unbelievably terrible and there's nothing I can do to do it. to save
And
it.
no
And no
one
one gives a
cares.
fuck.
The other
And
musicians
afterwards,
don't
all
care.
the dudes are like, "Oh, good gig.
Right, like
What's your number? I want to hang out with you again. Blah blah
It's
blah.
like-
Let's jam together." It's like, dude, go fuck yourself. Do you know what we just sounded like?
Yeah, like that's one of the things like I've gotten so frustrated with is just like I sound like shit. The people listening and the people I'm playing with don't seem to care or notice, and both are bothersome to me. That like because
think
that
I'm
makes it
different
feel
than
like
you guys,
why do I bother trying? Like,
that's where I'm
why
at.
did
I
I
stopped
why did
trying.
I
Yeah,
bother
Matt stopped trying.
practicing?
I stopped trying years ago
I've-
for this shit.
And it's like no one seems to care and no one seems to notice. Like,
Well, yeah, and
it's like most people don't seem to care or notice the difference in quality. Like, I think one
But
of
I
the
wonder,
reasons
yeah.
I enjoyed the harpsichord stuff for the time that I was doing it was that I was actually taking lessons from like a really, really good harpsichordist, and he cared if I was playing like shit or not, and he would point it out, and he could notice, and was like, "This is great."
Yeah, that doesn't happen. I wonder if you, I mean, I assume, but if you go to like a bigger city like New York or something, I bet if you went up there and played like shit, you're just gone, right?
I don't
It's
know
not
that that's,
like-
I don't know that that's
I don't think that's true, though.
You don't think it's
I
true?
don't know
I
that
don't.
that's true.
I
Because
don't think it's true because I've seen
know.
LA.
I think people have created this, idea of what those places are like because of, like, not necessarily the entire scene in those cities. Like, I was hoping, honestly, that I would come to Chicago and everyone would say, "Wow, you sound like shit. Get the fuck out of here." And that's not what happened. Instead, I was financially solvent after 2 months.
Yeah,
And it's like, what the fuck is this?
yeah, it's really annoying. I don't
There was,
think.
there was,
I honestly
there was
don't think it's
someone
the
that
case.
there was one person that said I sounded like shit, and it was great,
Nice.
but also frustrating. But it was great.
Yeah, I think the idea that places like New York and LA have this like rigid, I want to say like meritocracy culture, something like that. I think that's almost like a vague idea of 50 years ago now. Because with my experience in both those cities,
because there are some gigs there that
Sure.
there is very high
Right.
very high caliber expected.
Yeah.
Like there are in those bigger cities there are those gigs, but that's
Right.
not all
I think
the gigs.
there's enough of them
It
where
can't
Seattle
be.
doesn't really have anything like that,
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
so
the-
I get that.
the closest I got in terms of stress level at that point, was like if I actually fuck up, I could be fired. Is when I played those symphony gigs last year.
Sure.
That was the only time where I was actually nervous.
See,
for
but I
my
feel like
musical life.
every gig I've ever played where I felt like that and I have messed up, it hasn't been an issue.
Same. I fucked up at the symphony gigs.
And I'm just
not
like,
really, but
do none of you care?
No. Here's the secret: they don't.
They don't.
They don't care.
And that's and that I think
It's annoying.
that in turn made me care less and less about music,
Well, it's
and then it just makes me be like, why do I bother doing this?
Well, it goes back
know.
to it's like if you had your own group or you were in a group that you really cared about or something, then I could see, really caring. Everyone's together in this. It's something goes wrong at the gig. You guys are like, fuck, okay, we need to address this. Blah,
Yeah.
blah. We never get those opportunities. If I'm doing a pickup gig for like a jazz group and everyone sounds like shit, it's like, well, cool. See you guys in like 2 months when the next gig happens. And we won't worry about this until then. And,
And we won't worry about it
That's
then.
a culture.
and you won't worry about it then. So it's like, well, are we supposed to care at that point? Like,
No,
sure, you
and
can go
that's
home
I
and
think
reflect,
that's
but like
that was because that was one of the things that really drew me to music because I have a certain degree of perfectionism to me.
not Greg.
Not you. Yeah.
Well, and that was that was one of the things that really drew me in with music was this in the collegiate environment you're really trying to seek that perfection in it. You're really trying to seek a really high caliber of performance, and then you get out in the real world and nobody cares.
Yeah.
And it's like
That's
all
a
that
very
work,
nice summation.
all that work I did was meaningless.
That's a pretty good way to end this. Right there,
well,
honestly.
I was just say until we find a way to reach the top echelon of gigs, be it via someone dying and you get the Supreme Court nomination to the Fifth Avenue Theater or whatever, and then or like you find a way to make your own group very successful in its own way, and then you get to be the dictator of the culture. I think the general music industry scene has a culture problem of, I don't want to say like over positivity, but like a lack of drive to improve.
Oh, it's that, and
Well,
all the other things wrong in our
think
society and our lives.
a too great a degree of willingness to treat all things music as subjective. Yes, it's extremely subjective. So but it comes too much to a point where that doesn't sound bad. That just sounds like something I don't like.
Right. Yeah.
And then
but there is,
even
but
though
there
it's
really
like, no,
is
there's
bad.
a point where it's bad.
There's
and
bad.
you need to be able to admit it.
I've played
and it's
it.
like, but
I've
I think,
done it.
you know, it's also just the level of quality in so many instances is so low that it's like so many people have just stopped caring, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like this doesn't matter. And because a lot of the people that then are at that point, but not like understanding that it's low quality, think that this is the epitome, so they don't think there's echelons to getting better, or they don't see that, no, there's a very concrete way to get better, like to get to that higher degree of quality.
And that includes things that are more subjective too, like you know, things like the articulation or like more expressive type things. You can get better at those too.
You can
in
get
your own
so
frame of
much
mind.
better.
Yeah.
You can get so much better at those. Like the amount. So as much as I say I didn't get better after college, I really, really did. Like I can look at I can look at things.
You're nasty, dude.
I can look at things I played like 2 years ago. Well, maybe not as well. I played a couple good things 2 years ago, but like in the span of like a year, like like if I look at just any given year, the difference between end of a year Greg and beginning of a year Greg was just insane. And the things I would think about or understand musically, both in terms of how to execute them and just what I could do, just the amount of expansion in my knowledge and ability within any given thing was just ridiculous. Like, you know, and like articulation is one of those just things where just like understanding just how much nuance is in a single type of, you know, like just in staccato, just how much nuance and different levels of staccato you can have and what the different staccatos can mean, you know, and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Totally. And proper applications upon sight reading them too, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's just sight reading it and getting as many of those nuances as possible, you know.
Totally.
You know,
it's interesting. Yeah. We talk about the burnout, but it's also, we have this inner thing that craves to get better.
Right.
We're proud of ourselves when we get better.
And I think about it, like there's still a part of me that's like, if I got one of those gigs that really demanded something of me, there's a part of me that's like really excited about that. You know, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, I would still be unhappy at this point.
Right. I mean,
just at the point I'm at now, I would be so unhappy with that after just a little bit. Because
it's bad for us when we don't get challenged ever, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's just a person thing in general, but it's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's like human condition.
Yeah,
it's like... It's the whole, you know, stagnating thing and lack
in
of
music, the
stimulation.
challenge is just not being homeless. Like, you know, it's like, that's not a fun challenge.
No, that's not a fun challenge. You know what I would like? I would like a healthcare plan. You know, whatever. You know, it's fine. To all our listeners, healthcare enrollment has just restarted. Please get healthcare. I'm going to go look it up after this episode.
Oh, God.
I'm serious. I got to get healthcare.
You're going to be disappointed with all your options. Any option you can afford, you're going to be disappointed with.
Uh-huh.
It's good times.
Good times.
Well, are we all burnt out of burnout talk?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty burnt out of this talk.
I feel like we were just talking in circles for a while.
Well, yeah, but that's how all our episodes are. Haven't you listened to us before?
He doesn't get that far.
That's true.
I usually stop. It's like, okay, it's circling back again. I can stop now.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes circling back is like the best, highest form of art.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Okay,
exactly.
Anyway,
have you ever heard of the ring theory before? So let's move on from the main topic to any rants we have.
Boy. Well, I was talking to you a little bit about this when I got here. This just on the way over, I was down a YouTube rabbit hole. Listen to an Adam Neely video again. I don't know why I did this.
You're like an idiot.
I'm going to make you listen to this after we're done, though.
All right, fine.
Because it was a good example of what we should never do. But anyway, then that video ended. It autoplayed the next one. And apparently there's this thing going around the music YouTubers called Luda Gates, which is based on the song Roll Out by Ludacris.
Which, since you lived with me for 6.5 years, you know that song.
Yes.
I don't think we're set up to play this right now, but listeners at home, you can do this fun little exercise and let us know where you land on this.
I can do the beat right now.
Yeah. But basically, there's all this debate about where the downbeat is on the chorus. And it's a rap song with a pretty standard halftime groove, and it's very obvious where the downbeat is.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like pretty damn obvious. Like, if I were to hum the little melody that happens without a beat, I'm pretty sure everyone could figure it out.
Yes, you see, the big issue was that there wasn't a snare in the recording.
Oh, no.
So they couldn't figure out where the 2 and the 4 were.
God help them if I posted that fucking O Timbaland song.
What?
Dude,
What?
I know, it's pain, dude.
It's literally, well, it was funny because then I go in the comments, I'm like, this can't be a real thing. And there's a lot of people just being like, oh, yes, blah, 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 blah. And then finally someone just like, it's just a fucking halftime, like, hip-hop group. You guys are just, like, thinking about it wrong. And it's,
Yeah,
like,
it's
literally
so
just
simple.
Also, why don't you just fucking start the song at the beginning and then just count all the way to the chorus? Because wouldn't that just immediately tell you where the one?
Right, it's like I doubt there's like a 6/4 bar in there or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, I feel like someone could figure this out pretty definitively, but that's music on YouTube for everybody, so it's a
Hooray.
it's a good thing in my life.
Yeah, that's not good, man.
Yeah.
It's really, really easy to find that downbeat.
I feel like people just like make shit up sometimes.
That's
to
what
be
I
like,
really
think.
do.
Well, I think it's partially to like inflate their sense of like self-worth or things like that.
Right. It's like technically you could take any song and find some half-ass way to describe it to make it sound crazy.
Yeah, you remember the time that I think I was like 19, and we played Red by King Crimson, and I told you the whole thing was in 4. So you know that song, Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Greg was in that band with us.
So yeah, check it out. I'm gonna do it with my fingers. Do 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 do. It's fucking stupid, right? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's things of that mindset which
Right.
are a problem. And again, I was a large idiot for a large portion of my life. I'm not saying I'm not now, but it's a very different way I'm an
Would we
idiot
say
now.
you're a slightly smaller idiot now?
Yeah.
there you go.
About 52 pounds smaller.
Oh my god.
No, well, I announced it to all 4 of our listeners out there. Hell yeah. No, so I hate it when people try to
Why am I
increase
here?
their own
I
self.
don't know why I'm here either.
I hate it when people try to increase their own sense of self-worth by trying to like invent different ways to do things that are stupid.
Sure, I think it's fun to do that sometimes. To be like, especially with like modern electronic music, because there are sometimes weird decisions made.
Yeah,
Probably by someone that doesn't really know what they're doing.
generally. But hey, that also makes it interesting in its own
Exactly.
way. Yeah.
So that's kind of fun to be like, oh, that's weird. This chord is like this weird thing that they
Yeah.
in no way intended. But that's like, okay, I can kind of get that. But yeah, when you're like having a whole fucking Twitter debate about
About
Yeah.
where the
beat
down
one is, I think
dude. Wow, that's really fucking hard. Are we sure it's even in 4, guys?
you know it might.
It might not be in 4. No.
Pretty sure it's in 5/8.
Oh, here we go.
It's actually a quintuplet swing. You see, but the okay, Jake, you got a rant?
Actually,
It's
my
actually in
rant is
3,
tied.
but polyrhythmically.
Oh, yeah, nasty. So my rant is tied to my listening of the week. So, Greg, do you have a rant?
Oh gosh, do I have a rant?
This is just your
I have
life.
yeah, just my
We literally
life.
just like ranted about your life.
Yeah,
for,
we
like,
just
the
rant.
past
I feel like we didn't
55
actually
minutes.
say anything that entire time.
Just bros getting together talking
I
about
think
depression, man.
Drinking some malt liquor, my dude. Yeah.
I think my biggest frustration at this point is people
Women
still
problems.
is what?
What?
Nothing. Continue.
People still not knowing how to use Zoom.
Oh, dude.
Oh yeah.
I think we ranted on this like
Everybody
6 weeks ago.
Has been using Zoom
For 8 months.
however long we've been like this.
It did shit. Yeah, it took Jake like 40 minutes to set this up. Fucking loser.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, but it's like there's still like things where it's like, have you not, like when people are hosting and it's like, have you not looked at the buttons you have? And it's like there's this cognitive disconnect where they don't understand that the options available to you when you're hosting are not the same as when you aren't hosting.
What?
So it's like you
Didn't
have
we have
other
that problem setting up this
have-
meeting?
You have other menu options available to you. Like, you know, some people I've worked with have figured it out. Some people haven't. And it's just kind of frustrating because it's like, I want to explain it to you. But
Like,
it's not helpful because you can't seem to find the buttons on your own. Like different things like making it so people can't unmute themselves or like spotlighting people or, you know, just adjusting audio settings. Like it's like,
Sure.
it's just weird to me. It's just so weird to me. The number of people I've encountered that don't understand that being the host is different than not. Like they just
And also, I'd
assume
like
that
to add to
everything-
that. Sorry, I'd like to add to that people need to understand this to make their business function properly.
Right.
So
It's
the
one of
money
those
they
things where
want
it's
to
like,
earn.
everything you'll be able to use this better from a business perspective if you understand those basic things. Like,
It may directly translate to more money.
yeah, because the quality of content you're putting out will be better.
Yeah, exactly. So
You know, the
it
quality
is a
of
little
the
mystifying.
experience
You're right.
For everyone involved will be better.
I'm
And
not
it's
saying it's like an
this is-
age thing, but
Oh, dude, I'm
the thing
totally
is, though,
saying it's an age thing.
The thing is, though, I've encountered people across a huge age
That's
range
true.
that have figured it out, and people across a huge age range that haven't. And it's just one of those
That is
things where it's really weird to me, where it's like, this is a major facet of your life at this point. Why have you not taken the time to figure it out? Like, this is a consistent glitch you're having.
Yeah.
There is a solution. Why have
Somehow.
you not taken the time to do it? To like
well,
figure out
listeners,
this
we
solution?
we'll post Greg's spreadsheet about common Zoom problems on the description for the episode. So
That's
if
right.
you're having any
Do
Zoom
you actually
problems,
want me to make that? I can
No,
make that.
if you make
Should
that,
should
I will shoot
film
myself.
a tutorial of me going through all
Dude,
these
if you
different
film a
Zoom
tutorial of you, I will.
options?
Yes, please do that.
yes, go ahead.
Do that.
Go ahead.
We will share it on our Facebook page.
Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You'll be famous.
All right. So with that, I think we should move to our listening of the week because my
didn't
rant
rant.
is tied
Oh.
to it.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Okay.
my rant is tied to
Well,
what
why don't you
I'm-
start then?
I will. So I was listening to a composer named Alfred Schnittke, and he is a
fun name.
kind of postmodern, half German, half Soviet composer, and I was listening to his Requiem, which was written in like 1973 or something like that. It's very, I guess you'd call it polystylist. It was kind of during that movement where, you know, you take a lot of very heavy chromaticism, but still tonality, and then combine it with more atonal techniques of like the Bartok era and things like that. And you try to make a cohesive piece out of it. And I think he does it very successfully with his Requiem. But there is like, okay, it pisses me off so much. There's like 4 seconds of the penultimate movement where some dude plays a drum set in the orchestra for 2 bars.
Dude, I bet that sounded fatty as
No, that's the problem. It sounded so flat and disgustingly bad. It was like this weird, like, half. Okay, so I think it was in like 5/4, and the beat was like do do jack jack do do jack.
No, like just straight up doing that.
Yeah, and it was that for like 2 bars, and then it stopped for like a minute and a half in the same movement, and then the big climax was, you know, this big buildup, and then right as the big chord gets hit, it's like this. I think it's like an E flat minor over D with like a C sharp in there, polychord kind of thing. You know, very, very large dramatic chord, right, with lots of conflicting intervals. And then as soon as they build up to that giant chord, right as the downbeat lands, do do jack jack do do jack jack do do jack jack do do jack.
He was dropping the beat as, you know.
There was a beat drop for sure.
Oh,
the
man.
original EDM beat drop. I wanted to, so the Requiem's about 36 minutes long. I've been listening for 32 or 33 minutes at this point, and it literally like ruined the whole thing for me. Honestly, those like 4 bars ruined
Maybe
the whole thing.
actually that was the goal, to get you to commit to listening to like 30 minutes of just amazing music and then just let you down like your
know-
life
you
as a
know what?
musician.
I bet
You're
the
gonna get
composer
30
is an amateur
years.
drummer. I bet the composer drums, and he's like, I got to get myself playing drums on this
you
shit. So
think
it's like, everything's
Thought of
going
a
well, he
real
runs
cool
back
beat
there.
I can play.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you a fucking picture of
I
this
can
guy.
see
You tell
it.
me if he drums. Okay.
You know what? You're like the fucking guy who judges what people who drum look like.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think you'll make an exception for me.
Okay, that guy probably doesn't drum.
You think this guy drums?
Or he's just fucking mad skills at drums, dude.
That's
I don't
true.
know.
Actually, that guy, a person like that ugly would be like, you know, it'd be like super nuts.
I can see that face that I said the same weird smile, just like
God.
With that smile.
Yeah, exactly. No, so that like I can't even tell you how fast that went from 0 to like from total
zero
gone.
to just like that.
It was embarrassing. I wanted to die. But I would recommend the rest of it. It's pretty awesome.
Shut it off in the last 5 minutes.
Well, no, it's pretty good. Like, there's a lot of interesting things about it. Like, it's combination of heavy chromaticism, and then I think it justifies a lot of its atonal lines in this kind of context via strong melodic motion. Like, a lot of the dissonance comes from very strong intervallic writing and contours, and I think it kind of just justifies the whole piece, except for the drum set. And I wanted to die. I couldn't do it. All right, what about you, Greg? What have you been listening to?
Well, so here's the thing. I don't really listen to music at this point because I hate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
There's the occasion, like if I listen to something at this point, it's related to a gig. Like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm doing this variation from this ballet. I should listen to it so I have a sense of what, you know, is going on interpretation wise, what the conventions are, you know, what just the sound of the whole orchestra is, you know, or like if I'm doing a particular vocal piece or something like that. But it's like, I don't listen to music for fun because it isn't fun. I hate it.
And it's kind of, well, that's kind of what I want to touch on real fast is like, I didn't used to listen to music for fun. I go in and out I used to go in and out quite often, but like, the thing that kind of turned me around again to start listening to music for fun was doing this podcast, not gonna lie. Yeah. Like the idea that I'm doing like research on music and trying to present it to the public and like trying to give my thoughts made me really want to like engage with music in that way, like heavily again.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's because you're mentally engaging yourself with it.
Exactly. And you want to, and you know, you have a project of your own.
Right.
That you feel good about.
Yeah, we don't get paid for this. We're just doing it out of the love for the music.
Hey, Steel Reserve, could you sponsor us, please?
We need money. We're really poor.
So, since Greg doesn't listen to anything, what have you been listening to?
I've just been on my pretentious free jazz bullshit still.
You're still on that kick?
I'm always on that kick.
That's
the only thing that, like, I think it's because it's so, like, noisy and, like, incoherent that it's the only music that makes me feel happy now.
Because it can identify with the inner workings of your mind the most.
Exactly. But I have been listening to Charles Gayle's album Consecration, who, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but free jazz sax guy.
Free jazz and sax, no.
Weird, right? But his story's kind of interesting because I was thinking about it a lot when we were talking earlier. He was a little younger than like Ornette and all those guys. But he didn't actually end up like recording or getting famous until, or known until like the early 90s. And for 20 years, apparently, he decided that he was going to be homeless just so he could focus only on playing sax.
Jesus.
And so he would just like go on the corner of New York and just like busk all day and then just go like sleep under a bridge for like 20 years.
Jesus.
And so finally, like I think 1988, some Italian record label signed him. And then he put out like 30 records since then or something. It's really weird.
I want to touch on something real fast based on what you said. Another problem with like sometimes this would cross my head in my own little mental health scenarios is like the reason I'm getting burnt out or because all these things, the reason I'm not good enough or whatever is because I don't have the level of dedication that this guy has, right?
You're not going to be homeless for 20 years?
That's not a healthy level of dedication, though.
Exactly,
That's just
it is,
not
but
healthy.
But it worked for him, quote unquote.
I mean, I got
how many people
this
does
guy
it
has
not
like
work
some sort of mental problem, though. Like,
yeah, exactly. But
that's not even dedication. That's just like
insanity.
Yeah.
But like in that sense, though, it's hard not to think, for me at least, along those lines. It's like if I was doing more, I would be more successful all the time.
Well, Jake,
but see, here's the
fucking move out, live on the streets.
You
and your melodica.
My luck. What'd you say, Greg?
You at least you were playing constantly, though. Anyway,
I was, yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
I mean,
but he was doing his own art.
This guy was doing his own art. Yeah, I was selling out.
Yeah. He's on the corner. He's playing for himself.
Yeah. And that's what his records were made for, too. And weird people like Matt.
You know what's funny? It's just like last week's free jazz album I listened to. This one also has two bass players playing at the same time.
Is that a free jazz ensemble?
I don't know. Sax, drums, and two bass players.
That's so stupid.
I mean, one bass to actually play bass line, the other bass to comp.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And
to do weird sound effects with his bow.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he's bowing the entire
album. I fucking knew it.
Because jazz bowed bass is great.
I've experienced some things about jazz bowed bass in my professional career that I would like to leave on the table.
Well...
I'm only down if it's electric bowed, man.
Didn't Medeski Martin Wood do that or some shit?
I think I might take that over.
Did that.
Oh, you did that. Okay.
I think I may take that over someone who hasn't really practiced Arco.
Oh, there's some torture in there, dude.
Yeah.
Someone did like an intro to All the Things You Are once with an Arco bass at one of the jazz gigs I was playing. And it was like, as you do with an intro on bass, it was like 4 minutes long.
I mean, everyone else needed a pee break.
I almost left. It was bad. Like the melody, like that strikes me as a bit of a difficult melody to play if you don't practice.
Wait, Autumn Leaves?
No, all the things you
All
are.
the things you are.
Yeah, in terms of intonation on an
Yeah,
electric bass,
yeah.
especially in a key that doesn't rely on open strings.
Fair enough, yeah.
And it was an abysmal disaster. But then afterwards, everyone's like, "Oh, that was so great! Blah blah blah. I love that intro." So it was like, why?
Why did you love it?
That shit burns me out.
Why did you love it? Can you define what you loved about it?
Yeah, can you name one thing?
That'd be such a
But if you
douchey
do
thing
that,
to
it's
do.
not subjective. I just liked it, man.
Oh God, I should do that sometime. If someone tells me like they really liked something
should.
I played, but it was total shit. Actually,
like, why?
What did you like about it?
Yeah.
Super dick move, but that I
think
approve.
I literally have done that before.
Just be like, why? Why?
Yeah,
What,
why?
what was
Two
good about
reasons.
it? Give me 3 good things about it.
Oh, well, you just seem really into it, man. I
You're-
could just feel your soul coming out.
Yeah, by your face, I could tell you were super into it.
It's all
therefore I
acting.
loved it.
It's staged.
Duh. Oh god.
Well, I'm gonna go kill myself. I think.
Yeah, I think
we're all ready to kill ourselves.
Big thanks to Greg Smith from Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, I guess we usually ask if
Yay.
you have anything to plug.
Yeah, do you have any sweet musical projects you want to plug?
No.
Or just-
Does anyone have any musical projects right now?
You know, you'd be surprised. We get some people in here that are just like, "Oh my god, I'm doing this, this, this," and you're like, "Well, fuck you. I'm not doing that."
Yeah, I'm not doing anything.
God damn
What
it.
should I plug? What should I plug?
Thinking of like butt plug jokes.
No,
No.
Jake, this is a
no.
podcast for children.
Oh, okay.
Isn't.
Yeah, fuck you for not thinking so.
It's got to start them young, man.
Oh my god.
Gotta get the cynicism in there early.
Yeah, you gotta drill it into them. Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right. Well, it's okay if you don't have anything to plug because we don't either. So
Yeah, the problem is I'm not trying to do any more music. So it's like I'm trying to do other things, but it doesn't help me to plug grad school applications. Like, what's that gonna help?
you could just name drop some of the grad schools you're applying to, and I'm sure they'll hear this, and then they'll want you in there even more after this.
I will send it to them personally.
But you don't. I'm gonna not say which schools I'm applying to. Easter egg, I mentioned them towards the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hooray.
All right. Well, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. I'm Jake.
I'm Matt.
I'm
Thanks,
Greg.
Greg.
Thanks, Greg. This is Music Sucks and I Want to Die. Real fast, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts. Greg, shut the fuck up. You fucking follow us.
And Twitter. We got Twitter now.
And Twitter. We have a Twitter where we
What
post.
do you post on Twitter?
We post amusing music little anecdotes from time to time. You should follow us. It's
It
hilarious.
actually is funny. I go on Reddit Guitar and post all the stupid shit they play there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All
also
right.
like screenshots occasionally.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an amusing Twitter account. It's at Music Sucks Cast. Please. Because someone else took our actual, the account we wanted.
You should have gotten it when you first got it. Like
Well, you know what, Greg?
someone saw your channel. It's like, I need that Twitter, and then I can sell it
actually,
to
like,
them
bad.
later.
It would be so funny if it was Ben. He's just sitting on it waiting for us to be
Yeah.
This might be it.
Yeah, I got these nerds. Anyway, we're fucking done. Go
Yes.
follow us on all the shit I just mentioned. We're
Bye,
awesome. Bye,
God.
guys.
Bye.